Um,
For your song, like, yeah, we get up with our brothers and one. The other ones aren't that comfortable.
this one looks like the best one in the house.
Something like that.
Uh,
Let's see here. And this very one.
yeah.
It's just said next to you, but you were too, swords. You should be getting the.
Okay, thank you. My assistant, then, makes it about that.
It's paper. You tell people who are pro budget to sit on the left and anti budget to sit on the right.
Okay.
People actually believe has, I haven't believed like anyone. I can't read them.
So I have a and flag state.
Oh,
Just seeing a little bit of shape,
Yeah.
people can be comfortable. If you want to sit over here next to me, if you have a huge crowd, I'll just, let me sit right here.
But you gotta sign it.
I'll sit right here and.
Yep.
Yeah, so well, here's what I was thinking of is. For if they want to speak, they want to comment, so I wanted to do a comment page.
Yes,
So I have 2 sheets here.
absolutely.
So,
That's right.
maybe.
That's a big. I, let's have this. Okay. There is.
Okay, there are agendas. This is a copy of the budget that was voted on. And the general fund, I think, is 2 pages in. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, we did. So, general fund.
How are you? Hi, how are you? I haven't been in this building since. Oh, that big, really? Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
It's a cool building. It is. It's pretty good. There used to be a ramp. Cause there was a kindergarten class. Like, Mrs. McGee was a kindergarten teacher, and there was a little ramp we had to go up, and one of the stairs, there was a ramp that ran up. To go in the class. That's pretty cool. The bell is still here. Yeah.
Kidding.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's neat. Yeah, those things.
Yeah.
Right there. This is,
That's it.
I was just curious if I was here.
No. That's hers. I'm listening to take notes and.
Does anybody need deal?
There's nobody.
What's the white version?
Sure.
What's wrong with you?
I can hold it down. I might need to ask Wayne for some help though.
There's copies of the budget. There's agendas.
Are you recording the bad boy?
I'm monitoring Zoom, so. Yes. No recording. I haven't recorded.
So beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm all coffee. I don't like that. Yeah.
And you're really like,
Working on. Doesn't happen overnight.
Look, budget.
I'll take that.
No, you want that. I got your.
There's a sign-in sheet up here, if I could get your attention, if you haven't signed in, there's a sign-in sheet. Mr. Johnson's our clerk, he's keeping track of that, and then there's also still some copies. This was the most recent budget, if someone needs a copy of it. Okay. We got about 4 or 5 minutes. There are, we have 1, 2, 3, 10, and I believe.
That's why I had different there. Keep walking with you, because.
So. Okay, honestly, do we have Sophia or Michael?
There's nobody there.
There's nobody there. Hmm.
This is the one that failed.
Asking for a meeting, ask for it.
8031.
8:31. That was done by the regular. Well, we won't be doing votes until the second hour, so.
And I'm gonna hit record here.
Yeah, you can. I've got. If you're just filling in, you got a sign-in sheet right up here, Mr. Johnson, use the sign-in sheet. And there's still some copies of the budget on the stuff there, and there's still a couple of copies to be good. This is the budget that we just voted on, just so everybody. Okay, we have a sign-in sheet, and
Hey.
there's some copies of that. Right.
For one Saturday, like, felt like 30. Over 60.
Yeah.
I got you. I know your name.
We're gonna start in just a couple minutes because we still have people pouring in. Was any like able to get on?
I have TJ, so that's what it looks like.
Okay.
In August, I'll manually move the camera slightly for speakers. Gotta just give it back and forth. You're welcome.
We're great. And we're gonna give one more minute and see if there's anybody waiting.
I did see that. I haven't done anything with it yet, but yeah. Do you have your top off? I almost pulled mine off. It's broke down? Ah, I see.
Yeah, it's right there. It's all signage.
Yeah. I bought my brakes off Amazon. They're really, really good. I got all 4 of them for like $600.
It's 6:32. I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting of the budget committee to order. And first thing I guess is the pledge of allegiance, so Wayne is gonna lead us to the pledge of allegiance.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was fast. That was fast.
Okay, so thank you and welcome. Very much comfortable. This building was built, made perfectly to stay cool, even on a warm day. I'm August Murray, I'm the chair of the budget committee, and what I'm gonna do is just do a quick introduction to how the plan is to run tonight's meeting. We have a couple folks just kind of coming in. There's a copy of the last budget right here, and then signing. So I'll start off by saying thank you for attending tonight's special meeting. And there are a few expectations. First, we'll follow the budget committee policy and the warrant agenda for tonight's meeting. As chair, I'll preside over the meeting, and I'm going to work very hard to ensure that everyone who seeks to has an opportunity to speak. You'll be heard in an orderly, fair, and respectful manner. During the public comment portion, if you do wish to speak and make public comment, just please raise your hand. So that I can see, and if I don't see you, Wayne or Sophia will bat me in the arm. Okay. Once you're recognized, we'll call on you, and if it's the first time that you're speaking, just state your name. So in our minutes, we know who made the comments. Okay. To allow as many residents as possible to be heard, I'm gonna ask during the comment period, we have 1 hour set aside for public comment before the committee goes into discussions. So what I'd like to do, if possible, is if you could keep your comments kind of focused. The purpose tonight is to talk about the general fund. And if you keep your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that will allow the maximum number of people to speak. There's a limited amount of attendance. So ideally, if 20, 25 people want to speak, we'll have that opportunity. And what we'll do is we'll work through one at a time. Once everyone who's wanted to speak is in person, we'll check with the Zoom. And then there are a couple people on Zoom, we can read the comments. And then we'll go for another round on permitting. That makes sense for everybody? Okay. Okay, when you do have comments, I'm the chair and I'm presiding over the meeting, so please address your comments to the chair, not towards individual members or members of the public. I ask that all comments do remain focused on the general fund budget. That's the purpose of this special meeting. There are many items of interest in the town. But tonight's purpose is really to look at that input specifically to the general fund budget, which was rejected, so that we can discuss constructively potential revisions and recommendations to provide the select board. They'll be meeting Thursday night. Keep in mind that the budget committee is advisory. We're not a legislative body, this is not a hearing. Our job is just to represent taxpayers and give feedback to the select board and to management. We do represent the taxpayers, and the purpose tonight is to gather the input to review this budget and provide recommendations and ideas to the select board. I think a good goal for everybody is to have healthy, constructive, respectful conversation. And the goal is that we come out of this meeting with helpful information for the select board. I want to thank the members of the select board that are here tonight. I see at least 3 of them on board. The other goal is to help the select board prepare for a budget that all the voters feel comfortable passing. Because I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick of making trips to town hall and voting. Otherwise, we'll follow Robert's rules of order to maintain an orderly process tonight. The members of the committee, Michael Creighton is online. Chris Dress did not make it. Sophia Lechman is here, and also Wayne Johnson and myself. We're here to listen to you. We're not here to make assumptions. We're here to listen to your comments very carefully. We want to hear what your thoughts are on the budget issues. Afterwards, so we have at least an hour devoted. That's going to give the committee and the town manager time to move into a discussion portion of the agenda. Discuss the budget issues, discuss questions and comments that were made. And then lastly, we'll look at potential recommendations that we can provide the select board. Probably the good news is our town manager is here tonight, so he's going to be able to hear first hand, forward the select board members are here tonight. So it's gonna be fresh in the heads. So even though I'll do like an update and that'll be provided publicly, it will be consistent with everything we hear tonight. The town manager intends to provide us the draft budget probably tomorrow. And then Thursday, the select board has a special meeting. I believe it's at your usual time and place. Is it 6:30 at Martin Memorial?
Yep, Thursday.
And then is Friday still the plan to send out the notice?
Yes, we'll warn it at the post offices, online, and also in the newspaper.
So the next meeting is being recorded. It's on Zoom, so thank you for the town of Weathersfield for supporting that, and that'll be posted publicly. So if you want to look at it again, or if folks in the public want to see it, couldn't make it tonight, you'll be here. So the last thing that I have before we get started is let's all agree to treat one another with courtesy and respect. This is a place for addressing the budget. Reasonable people, you may absolutely disagree on budget priorities. But we all have a shared interest in serving the taxpayers and ensuring the residents have a strong voice in the process. So that being said, we will go to the next order of business, which is agenda review. Committee members, any changes on the agenda?
No changes.
Okay. We have a time of 6:39. I'm gonna go ahead and open it to public comment. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. And if it's something we're gonna do the public first, unless you have an administrative question.
I don't have an administrative question, I just want to make sure the public is aware of one change that happened from the time that we voted to today. So you should make sure, I'm pretty certain that, a significant cut was already made that should be mentioned.
Actually, I'm gonna hold that because what we're gonna do is we're reviewing the most recent budget. We're not reviewing any changes since the most recent budget that were discussed at the select board. That budget's not been voted on yet, so no changes have been voted. So I'm gonna open up the public comments. Who'd like to go first? Joe, yes, no fight. Yes.
My address the group here.
You addressed the Carolyn meeting
Okay. I've actually written this for the voters.
and your name.
My name is Susan Wilder. I live in Perkinsville, and I appreciate the opportunity to walk to this meeting tonight.
Nice.
So I would like to ask our voters how you would feel about working in a job in which your friends and neighbors decided and voted on whether you get and deserve a raise. I trust Brandon's judgment and his skill, and not only do the people who work for us deserve a raise, he does as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, more comments? This is your chance.
I'll speak.
Yes, please, Beth.
Hi, Beth Hutton. Couple comments. First of all, I want to point out that in the state of Vermont, there is a homestead declaration of property tax credit claim. I have looked at the online Vermont property tax calculator for a lot of different incomes. Basically, what it comes down to is any increase in your tax is going to be offset by an increase in your property tax credit. The property tax credit applies to people who have an income of less than $110,000 a year. That's pretty good income, okay? So I wanted to just make sure that everybody's aware here and get the facts out there. For people, less fortunate, there is that offset from the property tax credit. Second comment is, I thought the budget was fair. And I voted for it, but I understand most people didn't. And I'll go on to comment that I am opposed to any decrease in staff or salary or benefits. I think when you cut staff and you cut benefits, you're going to lose employees and you actually increase your cost. And you risk losing skilled personnel. And then I'd like to make a couple of comments specific to the budget. I wonder about the $6,100 in postage, that's $7,800 a year. In the world of email, so we need to spend out that much. Make it have to leave, I don't know. I wonder about the land use conservation committee, $1,500, I don't know what that's for. I don't know if that's going to be legally balanced. I wonder that, about the police budget, there was no increase in the budget the last round. Under administration, I wonder about the town report, $6,700, is that because we're mailing them out? I wonder about the GF awards, 5,000. I don't know what that is. I wonder about the town flags, 2,500. In other towns, you raise money and we buy the flags. And I would need to sort of make a donation if we want to do it that way. Nobody wants to swear the flag. In hard times, we need to take away some of these luxuries. I wonder about the renovations for this building, 2750. That's not repair, that's renovation. What are we renovating? And then if you want to go deep, town parks, $10,000, ouch. But, and then park and rec, 3,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. I've made some notes on items you mentioned.
Excuse me, Beth, I just missed the second to last thing, 10,000 what?
town parks. Yeah.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Comments, public comments. It's gonna be a quick meeting. You're very lucky. Yes, ma'am, what's the citizen?
Here's. Follow up on one of Beth's questions. It seems to me grossly improper for us to be discussing salaries and benefits of town employees. That seems to me to be something between employees and their employers, and I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable that the citizens who may not know the people who know how long they've been working, how hard they work, what their jobs entail, what kind of training or specialized knowledge they have. That seems to me something inappropriate for us to be discussing in a public meeting.
Yeah, I think my only feedback real briefly administratively for the purpose of the meeting, if it's a line item in the budget. I think that that's fair game. Anything within this budget that was published publicly is fair game for discussing.
I think you could make a believe that some things are not going to be. We have an obligation to protect our
Yeah,
employees.
I guess what I would say is that just the meeting has notice, and anything within this budget can be discussed tonight, it was published publicly on the website. But I wish you had the II and such things, yes, and that,
I actually have something that follows along with that. I would say I have some concerns about some of the benefit packages.
can you say your name real quick?
My name is Nicole Gavin.
Thanks.
I'm a public servant. And you can see how much I make on the 990. When you're a public servant, you agree that your information is gonna be out there about how much you make. It's no surprise, it's no secret that I make for 40,000 a year. You can look at our financials and you see that. And when I see people every day that are struggling, and I see people with benefit packages that are almost how much I make an entire year, that's very defeating. It might be like budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, other public comment. Yes, please do. Want to say?
Run the plan. The only couple things I had is, a lot of people, we didn't have that many voters, only about 500 or something. So can we get signs put out at both intersections, both today? For one thing,
Well, I think, what I'll do is I'll capture that as an administrative note, we're really looking for budgets, I know, specific to the budget, I do know that, Martin Memorial Hall has a voting sign that they put out last night, but our town managers here, we can capture that as an administrative note.
and the other thing, touch on is, we're looking at the library budget. So it's only open 26 hours a week, I just went on 2 hours a year. Don't know much about the library, it's never been there. Well, the budget is $122 an hour. But 1,300 hours of that is open here. It seems to be.
Well, in regards, so you're concerned that you're stating that, I don't want to paraphrase or change the words, but you have concerns about the library budget?
There's people in the library.
Yeah, just to orient everybody on the most recent budget that we're reviewing, which was the revote. There's categories at the top. One is the FY 25 approved, one is the FY 26 approved. And then it was the FY 27 proposed, which was February 28th. And then it was the FY 27 revised. The revised was the most recent one we voted on. I think it was May, someone can correct me, I think it was like May 15th that we had our election access. So you can reference differences between the two.
Maybe it's open more hours than I think, but it's said to say. So yeah.
Well, may I ask, so, or clarifying, so the 3 employees are part-time or differing hours, right? Can we ask, or how do you wanna clarify this item?
I think what we captured is we got a concern on library funding, and I think when we go into discussion, the town managers here, we briefed the library last time, and so I captured that. Library funding is a topic for discussion. And once again, not to paraphrase you, but I think your concern, were you trying to tell us that you felt that the library funding was the budget?
For the hours that.
Okay, and that kind of helps for everybody tonight is the more you can clarify your concern with the budget, that helps us when we go to discussion. Yes,
Just a point of clarity, John Brickerdale on the library, it's a municipal library, therefore governed by a board of trustees. The town of Weathersfield has no control over how the Weathersfield Park Library manages their budget. So we can't talk about employees, you can talk about the total budget number for the library. You cannot get into line by line item discussions on the library budget.
yeah,
That is only by state law, the responsibility of the trustees.
yeah, that's a point well taken, which is that you don't aggregate budget, but they do have their own trustees, they do develop it, and it goes before the voters. Okay, in the back.
Darlene Johnson, can I ask a land use question?
Yes, yes, the general fund.
The insurance is listed at 40,000 plus. How many employees does that cover?
Okay, so your question on land use is.
Let me rephrase that. I'm concerned about $40,609 for land use insurance.
Okay,
Because if you add up the other insurances, they don't come to that.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. Okay, anybody who hasn't called yet, in the back. Okay,
Anyway, I have a question about the new line items that appear in the 26 budget. There was a few travel stipends, consultants, a few other things that appeared that they showed up, they were spent after the budget was approved, these are new items. And then for this budget, they were just included as a standard and then given that percentage increase on top of that when they weren't even part of last year's budget. So I go, like, Ford, I didn't see anything when it comes through where the new line items appear. And when a budget item is not used on the line item, it says 0 was spent. That same amount, like, when I think it's 3,500, it wasn't spent. And then it starts again at 3,500 instead of zeroing that out, that's not carried forward as an expense. And how is that spent elsewhere? Is that reallocated? Or is that line item isolated to that budget item, and really it's just you didn't spend it, or you didn't only spend part of it, that's just for next year, or is that just for?
I think, when we get into the committee discussion with the town manager, I think you can probably pretty easily speak to, town management process of funds between line items. During, in between budgets. I think that's something you can discuss.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yes.
Julie Levy. I'm concerned about legal fees. They've much more than doubled since 2025. And I'm wondering if the budget committee has discussed about why and how that might be reduced.
I believe I can say briefly, and then we can get into further discussion later. I don't think we've discussed them, but we could discuss them in reviews. Okay. So legal, we discussing that.
Hi, my name is Courtney Campbell. I was just curious because in the past I have used the eSNP program for the spay and neuter for my dog. And I know that Weathersfield used to account for that. Do you guys no longer account for support for low income people who do this spay and neuter for their animals?
What's the name of the program?
They do have a Vermont commitment, but I know about 50 years ago, the town of Weathersfield had a program. Specifically, low income participants spay and neuter their animals and.
Do you know if that's identified anywhere in the budget?
That's why we're bringing it up.
It's not.
There's no line item, but there's no money going toward that. We've encountered a lot of people needing conflict assistance with their animals.
So, we have been sending a good eSNP, but I do know the town of Weathersfield did used to have a budget,
And now we know not to send.
Okay.
Yes.
But talking about. Hopefully, you know, yes.
Jacob Chase, I believe our land use department used to be part-time, I could see that going back to part-time, I don't see the need for a full-time land use administrator department and all that stuff, so that's my 2 cents.
Okay. On land use, Jacob, okay. Thank you. Okay, any others? And then if we have to pause, I can check online. Yes, sir.
Greg Herschel, I'm still trying to figure out which fire departments or fire station that we're actually using. If it's the Scotty one or if it's the Weathersfield or Pleasantville, whatever you want to say. And then the police force, about a location for the police force, I've heard rumors. That they're looking at another building to establish the police force, when we had Martin Memorial Hall, where they were with parks. If we're only using one of the fire stations, why not have the police department in one of those? To affect the funding.
Okay, so, your question relates to, police department, location. And it relates to fire stations.
Right.
Okay, I think we can cover that, in discussions. Okay, got it. Okay. Yes.
I'm just curious as to how you're gonna use the information that you're expecting here tonight, like, somebody mentioned planning to cut the library budget, does that mean you're gonna propose cutting the library budget, even though probably 90% of us or more would disagree with cutting that?
Well, I think there's, a couple of
Or
different.
maybe it's the items
Yeah.
that I'm
I think when we go through our discussion, each of us has questions too, but this feedback helps us gauge where the community concerns are.
Okay.
I heard one person raise that as a concern, I haven't heard it as, I'm just giving you my feedback as widespread concern. But our starting point, really to hear what your concerns are, what your recommendations are, but then that's gonna help us as we look at the budget. We obviously, you hear feedback all the time, all the way from voting day to the select board to now. But this is really where we need the public input to help inform decisions. You're helping give us ideas that we can discuss.
My input would be that we shouldn't cut anything. I agree.
Oh, sure.
Anne Marie Redmond,
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Perkins.
Yes, Mr. Fuller.
That just triggered a very emotional thing inside me, Anne Marie, and I don't mean to point to you, because I should be addressing the chair.
Dave Fuller from Perkins.
Yeah. I've been very vocal about the process. I served this town for, I don't know how long, as a board of selectmen. And there's just, I'm very disappointed with the budget process starting from last fall then. I believe the board should have known in the beginning that it was going to somehow get to a 23% tax increase for March, and it did not. Any board that I've ever served on would have gone back to the administration and say that is just not going to fly. Neither would 16%. I don't know where that came from for the second try. It is about money. If people don't understand that, then they better go talk to the people that probably voted no, because it is about money. And it's not about all these services. I'll be happy to answer any questions as a former member. I probably can say what I want. You don't really care. Not that bothered me before. But people have come and worked for and served the town on their own terms. We haven't had this massive amount of turnover or this fear about if we don't pay them this well or they'll leave. Well, their reasons for coming here are they like the rural setting, they want to be here. On the other hand, the cost of annual staying here is rising much faster than normal. The grand list growth is not keeping up with the growth of spending. And that's very concerning. I made it pretty clear through some board members and everything that I thought that this should have been a lot closer to a stable tax rate to get reappraisal in the rearview mirror. That means whatever it takes to get there. I know I was on the committee when Brandon came here. I know we picked him for a reason. But he also made it clear to us that he wanted to slow down his life and to come in a rural setting to enjoy a town like Weathersfield.
I would focus it more on the budget item versus personal.
I just think that this is about money, and unfortunately, right now, you're in an advisory board.
Yes.
The select board is in a very precarious situation to come up with a warrant for this. Some articles have passed. I'm not sure they would have passed, given the fact that the general fund is going down this way. Because of the ones that have already passed, we're probably looking at a 10% tax increase by themselves. So you can do all the stuff to get to zero all you want to. Still gonna, and that's not the school, I'm only talking about the town. It's gonna go up because of the things that passed already. That's not good news.
Yes, and so, you also,
Yeah.
thank you for it. So then we'll segue to other comments, and just to orient us where we are. So, yeah, we've had a general fund. We failed the first go around, we had a revote, it failed the second go around. That's rather unheard of, in Vermont, it's very uncommon. The town did, initially approve the solid waste. And then also some special articles, put into deal 20,000, 10,000 for highway culvert. And then in the second round, 2 capital plan articles were scaled down. And both the highway fund was narrowly approved, but then also the highway apparatus for, I believe it was 2 trucks. And the fire for 1 truck, both of those special articles got approved, only the general fund failed, so that's what brings us up here. So, I think I'm gonna just check, it's 7 o'clock, I just wanna just check with, yes, I'll get to you next, but Brandon, do you have people who are wanting to comment, just so I have a rough idea on?
We don't have any public comment online right now.
Okay, thank you, yes, Lisa?
Please take them for feedback. I just want to be clear because actually know more than I know. So that means everything that has already passed, the school, the highway, all those things are all, we already passed. They're not going back up, none of that.
They're passed.
We're only talking about the general.
Yes, and that's good clarification for everybody too, because I don't think when most people who were young kids growing up in Vermont, their dream was to serve on a budget committee. Pretty sure. But yeah, so all these articles passed, they are set in stone. We are required to have the municipal articles, like the general fund, we have to get that approved. And when there's a failure, we have to do a revote, it would get it approved. So that's what we're today. Okay, yes. Oh, wait, first of all, has everyone had a chance to speak at once? Before we go back to it, because we still have time, we have another half hour. Oh, this one is yours.
Before this meeting is adjourned tonight, I'd like to see 3 things take place. I'd like to see the committee, I would like the committee to come to a consensus on its recommendations to the select board and to state such recommendations for the record. I would like the committee to state on the record the findings on which those recommendations are based, as is directed in state statute. And lastly, I would like the committee to formally, on the record, appoint a spokesperson to present the committee's recommendation to the select board. Thank you.
Yes, I see no concerns whatsoever with your 3 points, so thank you for your comment. Okay, anyone else want to go that has not gone before? This is your opportunity. We're round 2. Oh, well, and she was up there first, and then Mr. Broker again. We're trying to keep this order. I'm not a referee.
Just a point of information, I was looking at the Springfield town report.
Okay.
And in there, they have a pie chart which indicates how much non-residents, seasonal home residents pay in taxes, and also how much full-time residents pay in taxes. And I think that might be a very good piece of information to provide to our voters, because it was substantial, and we've had a huge increase in second home owners. One of them in a few months. So I just suggest that maybe that information would help our voters understand that they're not the only one on the hook here. There's a substantial increase in and amount being paid by non-full-time residents.
I think what I'll do, I'm gonna capture that, like in our minutes, as like an administrative note, But because we're really focused on general fund tonight, I mean, that's helpful in the town report. We're really focused on getting to this general fund so we can get some feedback this summer. Yes,
Hey O'Brien, I just have a question. I just think people need to know where in the budget we're gonna come up with all the costs from revoting. This will make the second time it's revoted. I wanna know how much money it's costing us as as a taxpayer here tonight. I wanna know what it's costing us each time we go back to have a revote. And how much these tax people who keep voting this down are gonna be paying more every time we go back.
yeah, I think we can relay that to the select board and for sure.
I can answer that question tonight.
Okay.
I am prepared.
So Brandon's back with that, and when we wrap up public comment, okay, you were next, right?
Sure.
It's you were next.
Sure. So I just a feedback on things that I've heard. One, you mentioned it a number of times in your opening, and I emailed you earlier and said I wasn't going to make this comment publicly, but you mentioned the word respect. There are members of the budget committee who are online bullies and are not treating residents with respect. So that respect goes both ways. I expect more from our elected and appointed officials. Two,
I'll just make a quick feedback if I may. I think we made it pretty clear that when we call this meeting forward through the time that we adjourn, we want everyone here to be able to have spirit, civility, respect, and constructiveness.
I appreciate that, sorry to interrupt, but if you are an elected and appointed official, you don't get to put a hat on and take a hat off.
And that's where, I won't try to figure it all out because I already know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think what I'll just say is, I think that's worth exploring. I don't think I can do that right here. But I think that what people say in the capacity of, as an official, like I personally try to say, hey, I'm speaking as a voter, like I'm as a voter, as a resident. So I don't think I can solve that tonight for you.
I'm not looking for a solution, but you mentioned a number of times, so I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
Anne Marie mentioned it, we don't have to revise the budget, it's already been revised now, right? Cost of services continue to grow. Dave, you mentioned that the growth of spending does not, you mentioned the growth of spending. It's a growth of services. We're providing the same service. It's just the cost of those services continues to go up. We're not plowing more roads. We're not grading more roads. We're doing the same work. It's just fundamentally the fact that those things are more expensive. We don't have to be in a race to the bottom. We should be a town that people want to come and work for, that want to come and live in. What's happening now is not creating that situation, right? Yes, you can have a rural quality of life and live in Weathersfield, but you can work in Ludlow if Ludlow is going to treat their employees with more respect. The benefit packages that are provided, we don't get to determine the cost of the benefits. We provide benefits to employees, right? If it's a family plan or a single plan, we don't get to dictate whether they choose A or B. We provide benefits. So the cost of the benefits to the land use position, which was referenced earlier, the person is choosing to take the benefit package provided to them. Yeah, just reiterate the point that we don't actually need to revise the budget. The same budget can go back to the voters. Thank you for this dedication.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's I end that.
Geraldine Johnson, and I'm just getting this out there. I don't think scare tactics are the way to run a meeting. I don't think we should be saying things like, those of you, and I'm not saying I did, but those of you that voted no are ending up paying more anyway. Those are scare tactics. We're here to discuss our feelings on line items, if you will, not attack the people that voted one way or another.
Yeah, that's a point well taken, and I don't want to take up public time. I would just say that we all have voter rights, and we never want to intimidate voters. And I'll just finish by saying that everyone who said a comment tonight, I'm not going to judge this. That's your right, and you should be respected. Sure, yes, sir.
Steve Doppen, Weathersfield vote. It seems to me the biggest driver of the no vote is the benefit package and salary for the employees. And while I support all the employees and, them having a great life and appreciate the work that they do, it's clear that there's a significant amount of voters that feel that maybe they need to either pay a bigger, I'm trying to think of what, more towards their insurance or something like that. I'm not advocating for, firing anyone here, but that definitely is the biggest driver, and that's something that, the board, the selectmen are gonna have to take and overcome. I don't know if there's a solution of reducing town hours and trying to cut some of that down. I don't know if that's possible, but that seems to me to be the biggest point is the benefits packages for things, whether or not some of the comments that wasted online are valid or not. That seems to be the biggest point. And, like some people said about postage and things like that, that's certainly a concern. I do want to reiterate what was just said. Some of the comments coming out of members of the budget committee seem to be a little bit offline and seem to attack certain people. And to be honest with you, sometimes I want to take and throw something against the wall when I read some of this. Traditionally, I don't think this is the way the town's run. And maybe there's a few people that just like to rile everybody up. I don't know. But just a little bit more decorum coming from the board or the committee would be appreciated.
Yeah. I would just say that, I think not all, I think. You have to respect the fact that the people functioning the committee will speak on behalf of the committee. Like when we get to vote and we form a consensus and we're gonna recommend the select board this, that's a committee business. However, people, in their personal free speech, if they're not saying, hey, I'm saying this on behalf of the select board, or I'm saying something on behalf, I'm saying this is the town manager. I don't think we can answer that question tonight. I think we can all do better. I think we can do better.
First Amendment.
Yeah, but that's just it, is there's just. Yeah, so that's, I guess what I'm saying is to relate to this general fund. That's what we're here for today, to hear your comments about the general fund, who is first? Yes.
It's very, Emery Redmond, I'm always very careful during budget season, not to be commenting online and getting involved in fighting and so forth on the internet. And that's how I think all the elected and appointed members should behave. You don't have to take and bully people off. It's not done, it's not appropriate.
So I'm trying to catch, I saw Ms. Spears put her hand up, I wasn't sure if there was someone before her and then go this way. Was there one of you before Ms. Spears? So, Ms. Spears.
Or spirit. Not to be argumentative, but to follow that logic through, if employee compensation and benefit packages are the driving force behind the city budgets, then how is it the highway department budget cuts? Because they're full of employees, they have benefits as well. This seems to be specifically the general fund of the municipal town's employees.
Yeah. So,
The logic doesn't carry through.
But point about that, and that just helps reinforce that we're really here tonight to solve the problem with the general fund. We have to, our fund has to have a budget that people will vote to approve and figure that out together. Okay, and I think I was working out here already. I don't know who was next. Just.
I don't know, you're in charge.
I guess I saw it now, but there it's no longer there, so you think. You had your chance.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is hard, just a lot of hard decisions. Just a little perspective as a, not speaking for the GRD, but speaking as a member of the GRD, we have a lot of applications for subdivisions, we are very busy. I just can't imagine if you have the land-based administrator, how he would get things done. Honestly, I don't know how he would do it, but that's my perspective. It's hard enough to get the decisions out within that 45-day period, as is now. So just be aware of that. If you want to subdivide your property, you might have a long wait.
Is everybody else? You still have a little time to comment, so. You go, right? You, then right? Mr. Ron McLean. Yeah. Okay, so we'll come back to you.
My name is Tim. I would just like to add, the population of Weathersfield is decreasing while this budget is increasing. So I think that's that's a point that should be, part of these discussions. We're losing revenue, but increasing revenue.
Understood. Thank you, Jerry. Last name?
Watkins.
Watkins, okay. And, you're next, you go, Mr. Dick was first.
Ray Stapleton. I am an employee of the town, but anyway, you didn't know, so it's hard for me to speak.
Are you speaking as an employee or as a
No,
resident?
I'm trying to speak as a taxpayer and employee, it's hard. As far as benefits and insurance. I just want to go on record and state that the employees of the town of Weathersfield have shown the willingness to work with the board and the town. We used to have no cost towards our insurance, then it went to 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. We had a discussion about high deductible insurance and how much more it costs. And the town made a deal that they're saving so many thousands of dollars that we could help pay and put money into an HSA for the employee. This is just an example. An HSA, for those of you who don't know, it's a health savings account. An employee can keep that money and it builds up, and that's how it was sold to us. This last year, they decided to save more money. They took the HSA disappeared, and now we have an HRA. So I just don't want people to think that we aren't willing to help and work. I can only speak on behalf of the highway department. That's what I know. I have a hard time with my crew wanting to do more stuff, and I don't have enough money to get them more gravel, more chloride, more whatever. We've done as much as we can for cuts in the last 7 years. I'm on with them.
It's done fun.
That's why it's hard. We have employees that now care about the town, and they care about the community. We're here to serve people. If we cut benefits, you'll save money. Let's say you save $30,000 in one department, just cutting insurance, making it cheaper. Costs are still gonna go up for greater blades or fuel or whatever. So you have that one-shot deal where you've deducted all of your employees and made them pay $5,000 a year each for their insurance, hypothetically speaking. What happens next year, year after that? I've seen a doubling of carbide cutting edges in 1 year. Are you gonna come back and now tell me I gotta pay $10,000 for my insurance to offset and that's got that on fuel to put in the trunk to go to work? You can only ask so much of your employees. And it's hard for me because I've done as much as I can in the budget to save money, and I've been asked to. My employees, our crew has not been asked to do everything they've done to come up with the efficiencies that they've done. And the reward for all that hard work seems to be, now we want the employees to pay for their insurance more. It's difficult.
Yeah, we'll get to this.
I just want to forewarn you that it's fine if you take the money away from the employees hypothetically and say that they're gonna pay more for insurance. Costs are gonna continue to grow. If you're not going to address the issue of what people expect for a service and being willing to cut services, if that's what it takes to save money, ultimately, you can't keep taxing the employees.
Thank you, Rick. And I saw it end in the back and then there should be after you.
Well, on Hall Road, I just wanted to comment on the population decreasing. I'm just curious about that number myself, especially in school, as somebody who went to school here and have children. And I've lived on Melody Lane for 35 years, my entire life, and houses are going up everywhere. Does not look like, so from 35-year view, we are not decreasing at all.
Okay, and my own feedback, okay, I think that ties in with the bigger issues for Weathersfield. I mean, tonight, we're really just trying to narrow it down.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that, because the traffic itself alone, like, there's gonna be a lot of funding just for that specific area of.
You know, this is a lot of stuff that, yeah, it's gotta be captured, like, for the overall budget process, but also like town plans, so it's like, yeah, can't get into tonight.
Yeah, no.
It's something, there's those things, there's something that is kind of. I was just saying. Back over here.
Didn't the highway budget save $60,000? Didn't you save up 60,000?
The highway budget went down and then it was passed. So I don't know if it's savings, the increase was small.
I don't know what you're referring to, I'm sorry. Yeah, by saving 60,000, I don't.
Yeah, you spent 60,000 less than you were budgeted.
Yeah, sometimes that happens if you have less storms, I don't know, or enough something interactive. But
No, I think if we have general consensus, we can do that.
yeah, sometimes you have a year where you have less ice and you don't have to go out so much in sand and you save a little money on your fuel or chains or tires or whatever. And you have a little bit of a fund balance. I try to encourage that fund balance to be used to go into reserve towards equipment or infrastructure.
Well, yeah. So let's focus it back to the general fund. Is there anybody online? We got 10 minutes remaining. Anybody online? No, we're good. Okay, so 10 minutes comments. Mr. Goodlett, then Ms. Pierce.
Joseph Goodlab, Weathersfield, speaking as a taxpayer, not as a select board member, I want to say that real clear. I've been in public service here for a while, so it's great to do it, sometimes it sucks, but other times it's great and rewarding, you get a lot of personal benefit out of it, is being part to help the community. Now, when I've been employed by different employers, I've had to go through some pretty good restructures before, and the first thing that, you know, higher ups in any corporate areas that I've worked for or other, they go straight to employee benefits. That is a huge cost. Previous company I worked for, we had pretty good benefits. They were great. The company couldn't afford to keep those going on, so they explored other ways of doing it. And the way of going down that road was giving the people a stipend to go for getting their own insurance, but removing all benefits altogether. So not making it so you have a premium parental benefits, get something that works for you, you have a certain amount of money. So when I see stuff like this, benefits are something that just screams out to me is there's a lot of money being spent on that, and there might be better ways of that or explore those assets.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Pierce, next.
I just wanted to speak to staffing at the town office. The town office are the employees who handle our tax dollars when they come in. As you know, we get audited every year. The auditors don't just look at our math, they look at our process. And they produce recommendations at the end of each audit. Our town treasurer gave us the results, us being the select board, of our last audit. There were 3 recommendations, and he told us flat out 2 of them we cannot carry through because we don't have enough people at the time. So these are your tax dollars that get handled in that by people who are hopefully qualified to do that. We can't meet our auditor's recommendation because we just don't have enough people to do so.
Thank you, of course. I'm trying to remember who's next. Who else had a hand up? Let's go to Darlene and then back to.
I would point a word a little bit. He said his hand up since I spoke.
I'm so sorry.
He said his hand up.
So I apologize, I didn't see you. I'm gonna start this way so I can do a better job. I'm looking to get a 5-star review on Yelp tonight. Mr. Tim, right?
Yep, so I would like to go back to the $60,000 that Ray so courteously saved the town. He did such a great job, that's awesome. Where did that money end up? Did it go back to the general fund?
I don't know, and I don't know if that's something we can.
That is not even legal. That comment that's being written online is misinformation and is incorrect.
Well, let's do this. If it's not germane or pertinent to the general fund tonight, I think I want to shout that. We're gonna have to
find out how that works.
Very easily.
Okay.
But I would say that
You're not, please. Here's what I'd like to do, sir, this is acceptable.
Yeah.
I think that this is something we gotta bring to the select board, because I can't answer it tonight,
Okay.
okay?
We can very easily answer that,
Let's do this.
but making assumptions,
Actually, at this
that's fine,
time,
Dr. Murray.
Let's just wait till, I wanna make sure all of the public is able to be comment. Then we'll go over to the town manager and the rest of the community member. Question is for Fuller.
I don't know my question, but I'll clear all this up in a hurry. By statute, the highway fund is separate from the general fund, can't be mixed. Doesn't matter whether Ray saved the money, the board would have either let it carry forward into the highway fund, voted by you, the voters, that's how it works. Or either deposit into reserve fund for use for next year, whatever, it stays right the lane.
Okay, so thank you for that funny information. Okay. Let's do this. We've got a little bit of time left. We're gonna go to Mr. Broker next. Before we do that, is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet? There's not, Mr. Broker.
Broker Campbell.
Broker Campbell, Michael.
Sorry. You know, like. So, well, sometimes, and I just think it's worth hitting again, that the tax savings or anticipated tax savings shouldn't be on the backs of the avoidance. We have a great crew, we have great highway crew, we have office staff. When we're talking about cutting their benefits, that will undoubtedly cause people to start looking elsewhere for employment. Right? And so there's 2,800, some 2,800 people in town and 14 or 15 full-time employees. Tax savings should not be put on the 14 or 15 employees versus the 2,800 people in town.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a comment in the back?
Or in project, I think it's insulting for us to sit here and talk about the livelihood of the people who work at that town office so hard for so many years. They're actually gonna dicker with their health insurance or cut their hours. I think we're going down the wrong path.
Thank you for your comment. I think I saw another in the back and then over here. So.
Darlene Johnson, who is responsible for hiring and firing town employees?
Me.
Don't know if that's germane to the conduct.
The general fund. I mean, in a way, and
Yeah. Well, I'll just say it real quickly, I don't wanna overstep it, but there's a process in town where a town manager has certain authorities and select board has certain authorities. But I'm really gonna focus on the budget tonight, and if there's a line item or something that you want changed or cut. Public feedback to make any changes to this budget is welcome tonight.
I guess if you're going to hire extra employees, that is a line item in the budget.
It affects administration, HR, employee costs, yes, throughout the budget, anywhere that someone's gonna be employed.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do this off, I think we have a couple people.
That's okay.
In the back, and then there was somebody else that, I'm sorry, Julie was next, and then, okay.
I would just like to compliment everyone who's worked on this process, who works for the town and who attends these meetings, because what we're struggling with is a bigger structural picture than a local thing. And we all have different opinions about how to solve that. That's fine. I hate to see our time dominated by structural problems that we can't solve here tonight.
Thank you, and then I think it was Nicole was next.
Well, yeah, I just wanna thank all the town employees when I'm talking about cutting. It's not necessarily anything about town employees. I think about the older adults in our community who I see every day that are struggling. And I don't know why their benefits should be on their backs. It's not personal. I think all people that work for the town are like, but I see it every day. And I just think that some of it is really
Thank you very much for this comment. Is there anybody, any other last online? Okay.
We don't have anything, August.
A little bit of time left. Mr. Klein, do you come back to you?
Yeah. How long do we have before we have to have the budget, the general fund?
Okay, so here's, I'll do a real short explanation based on my understanding. We have a couple experts in the room and I feel pointing out. But the budget, after 1 July, I think our plan is that the budget would be Tuesday, the 7th of July for voting. And that means we don't get into a situation where we have to borrow. It allows us to continue operating if we approve the budget 7 July. If it fails 7 July, the state has a statutes in place which allow the select board to operate within certain parameters, borrow within certain parameters. But we have to keep revoting until we have a budget. Is that a correct explanation?
To a certain extent, I can address it more once you allow me to answer all these questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, public comment on the general funds. Did you, were you not?
Yeah, I didn't want. So, we still don't know why the budget failed. We really don't.
Yeah, that's why we're here, is to listen to everyone else.
Oh, we really don't know. I mean, we can do an online survey. I wouldn't do it on Facebook. I'd do it on. I'd do it on town website. Rather than do the survey. I'll go to town, let's do surveys online.
So we'll vote with an angry emoji or a happy emoji.
And it can get anonymous. Sure.
I think surveys, so that's something we should capture for the future too. I know that,
So. Other than that, I probably keep the same budget because it's like. There's nothing out of whack. You're not gonna cut people's pay. Or benefits. I mean. They got more of a raise than I did, but that's the way it goes.
First, thank you. And that's the deals.
Jim Gato. The problem of benefits is a unified problem. It's not a Weathersfield problem. Healthcare costs are out of control in this country. It's got nothing to do with, anything that we can do about it. And to take benefits away from our hardworking employees is, I think, is wrong. I think we need to continue to provide the healthcare that we all share.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
We-
Okay,
We do have a hand up online.
we have a hand up online. I think if everyone is okay with it, we'll go just a few more minutes. Let's go with the online question.
Paul, can you unmute?
Yep. Yeah, it's Paul Choppy from Perkinsville. And I have a lot of respect for the budget committee and what you're tasked to do. My opinion is that with the budget, none of us know all the details in the budget. We hired Brandon to run the town, and I have a lot of respect for Brandon. He knows the budget better than any of us, and I know you're going to get a lot of comments with all of us, and you're not going to be able to please all of us. I think Brandon knows the budget better than all of us. I think we need to leave it in his hands to make the appropriate cuts that he thinks are necessary to get the budget approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any last comments in the room? Yes, I see you're.
It's good to get our customers say thank you for all the time employees who work so hard on our behalf.
Thank you, now. Mr. Ruland.
Yeah, quick question under the appropriations. I know that the appropriations are voted on by the public. I do have a question under the French Meeting House, though. I thought that was one of the articles that failed on the March election, but exactly it's because it was 27 budget for $1,000.
Down through that, on the topic. Okay. I have one last thing, one of the members of the public have to, there was a competing meeting tonight, which is difficult for everybody, because I don't think any of us had anticipated having to do another, budget meeting or vote. But we took Slade with my communication, he emailed me, and, a couple of her points that she asked me to read out on her behalf. I'm not reading this to public, I'm reading this for Lisa. She had she said there's an allocation for 2,000 under cemeteries, what is this money for? She also stated there was $2,500 allocation for Tom flags. That fence was at least approved by the select board a couple of years ago. And the price kind of that we really were unable, she said, to raise the public funds. And so the money for 2,500 it provides for the flags and Perkins for almost 70 awareness. And then she also had a question about the allocation for police dispatch services. And I think for, when we finish this, town manager will get a chance to comment. And I think he can explain that rather quickly. It says 33,149. And I think a different amount was in the select. I'll just say that to Brandon. So, she said the allocation for police dispatch services is 33,149. Oh, we also have the police chief here too. She said April 13 minutes do not reflect the amount. She said she, thought that the town manager said the agreement was for 45,000. So that's something that you can verify in the general fund. Okay, final question. Oh, then there's one, I'll do two more and then that's it, okay?
A suggestion for something that could be cut if the people in town would be welcoming of the idea would be the town report that we print every year. I know it's quite an expense for the school board, and I believe it's also quite an expense for the town. And I don't know if that's something that people in town would want to see either. Just because you can print things just copies at a time. So if people want a physical copy, they could request it rather than sending it out to everybody in town. And a lot of people would rather just look at it on their computer.
Yeah, I think we'll, I think we could solve that one real quick. Why don't we'll do one more comment and then we'll shift gears, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we have one last comment.
Just a couple things, I absolutely think the town and all of the work that goes into all of this for our town. I feel like as a citizen, I've been well heard by the town manager, select board, whatever, and like raised concerns. With that being said, I don't know the right answer here, as Dr. Cagle said, like healthcare is a nightmare, I'm a nurse, like I get it, right? I'm not saying like some people with benefits or whatever, I don't know the right answer. I don't wanna be the one like my Tom said in the last select board meeting to tell somebody you're getting fired and. But our town is getting older and older and older, and there are people that are absolutely struggling, like, am I putting fuel in my tank? Am I paying my electric bill? Am I putting food in my mouth? And I think that we can really look at this budget. I don't know the exact line items, whatever, but flags have been brought up a couple of times. Like in this day that people are truly struggling to feed themselves and heat their homes and stay in their homes as they get older. I beg the question, do we need flags in the middle of town? And I think that those are the things like, right, like when I'm thinking of equipment for my home or my vehicle or things like that, like, can I stretch this vehicle out one year? Can I, go to this store and use this allocation? Because maybe it's cheaper at this store than this store. And that's what I'm asking, and I of our town, like, can we think, like, have we done the best that we can for our taxpayers? And I'd like to assume positive intent and assume that it's being done, but sometimes when it's not coming out of your pocket, it's easier to be like, oh, I'll just grab this goals or this thing or this budget or this whatever. And you think about it, it would be some heads up or whatever. I am a patriotic person, please don't take that in any other way, but like, if people are struggling to put food in their mouths, I think that this isn't the time that providers.
Thank you for your comment. That's gonna wrap it up for tonight, for public comment, but I wanna just try to stick to the agenda. And that keeps us all on track. And then, what I'm doing right now is, town management asked for his help and the budget committee's help with Wayne, Michael. I want to thank everyone who took the time to come here tonight. This is your town with your participation. I know that speaking for all of us, we just are grateful and applaud it. I think DeForest and Rika and Joseph will probably chuckle. I think it was back in November, we had meetings, we had like 2 or 3 people show up, and it's hard because you're in a vacuum, so thank you. So at this point, I'm gonna shift gears And what I'd like to do is take like the next half hour and let the committee members chime in or ask for clarification. I think I wanna, if it's okay with the committee, we could start with the town manager and work our way through here. So Randy, this is a good time for you to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've written down approximately 20 questions. If I missed your question, please let me know. The general fund increase is up 2.8%. So that equates to $47,000. That was the overall increase in taxes in the general fund between FY 26 and FY 27. A revote between all direct and indirect costs is approximately $25,000, right? So going again, we spent roughly $50,000 more than if we would have just passed the budget in the first place. If we don't have a budget approved in July, then the board will have to take out a tax anticipation note, 5.25% on $1,630,000. We're looking at paying $85,000 in interest. That's not a scare tactic, that's the reality.
Okay, if I could just talk for 1 second, don't worry, if you grab the budget packet or if you look at the past, what Brandon was referring to, the FY 26 approved budget, the subtotal was $1,972,781. The FY 27 revised, that was the revote, that was $2,028,593. So that was kind of, I think that represents the 228%.
Yeah. On postage, 6,100 annually, Beth, that we have to send out tax bills. And when we mail up. Yes, that's roughly what it costs us, and then we have to follow up with delinquencies, the county clerk has mailings. So we do not mail a lot, we do as much as we can online, but that $6,100 really is fair minimum for the business that we do for the town. 1879 schoolhouse renovations, that is something we could look at reducing, or if we do have a problem in this building, it would be an unbudgeted expense, and maintaining any building is roughly right around that every year, especially this one, it's an older building.
So,
Town
can I
parks,
ask the follow-up to that? Is it an actual renovation or it's upkeep?
it's a combination of both. I think we could do some better relabeling of our flags. And I think we could do that in the upcoming revised budget. I think revise that line item. I have in the past used it for upkeep and also renovations, so. Town parks, $10,000, that's to mow everything. So we could let everything grow up. And that's like us sending out a bid, and that's a competitive bid. So we have to mow, we have to upkeep our town parks and our buildings, and that really is the bare minimum to do that. Benefit packages, I just really want to put this into perspective. So all of our employee benefit packages is $275,000 a year. Let's just say hypothetically, we just slash that and we do 50% of that. Now the employee is responsible for 50, town's responsible for 50. What is that saving each person in this room? We're talking about 4 cents on the tax rate. That's $40 per year. Is that enough? I mean, it's really not going to be doing much. So we're going to slash employee benefits and make the town not as attractive of a place to work so that we can save $40 per year. Doesn't make sense to me. Land use needs to be part-time. Did you look at the job description, Jacob?
No, I'm gonna not let you question audience members, so I'm not.
I just wondered, how did you arrive at that
Might be a
conclusion?
discussion, but I would say, yeah, you can take right on.
Okay, so I think anybody can make, I'll restate, anybody can make a claim and say if an employee should be have a part-time. Unless you review that employee's duties and responsibilities and the everyday operations of that employee, how could you make that assumption? Fire station use, station 1, station 2, that's a really good question. Both stations are being used as fire station 1 and fire station 2. So this is a larger town, even though it's a smaller population. it's spread out so much that we have to have fire trucks on each side, or we'd have to build something right in the middle in order to meet the response time requirements. I think it's worth looking more into. I wouldn't say that we would just shut that down, but it's definitely a bigger conversation than any changes that we can make between now and Friday. So I think we could have that conversation over a longer period of time. Police force, there is a building that we're looking at renting temporarily to be able to have a place for a police department. People have talked about Memorial Hall. There was a small office for the police that really didn't fit their needs. Now there's a lister and an assessor in that office. And we have a police chief sharing an office with an administrative staff person. So like, there's just nowhere for the police to go inside Martin Memorial Hall.
And I think Brandon, to make it germane to the question, I think that and we addressed this at the select board, I think you gave a pretty good clarification.
Yeah.
You have budget, and you stated to the select board, you stated in that budget, regardless of whether we rent a police station or not, or other.
Correct, yes. So like the budget, and I'll get to this as we get through more of these questions. But yeah, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
All right. Legal fees doubled since 2025. The town is being sued right now on Old Bull Road, and it's costing the town a lot of money. So we could look at all the publicly available information on the lawsuit against the town right now, and that's where most of those legal fees are being attributed to. Annual report. This is the one thing, the one area in the town that we mail and give every resident something in the mail. And it gives every resident the ability to read about what's going on in the town directly. We discussed this back in 2021, 2022, when Dave Fuller was chair on the board. Dave, you want to talk more about?
We have floor vote. This came up, and you can check with the town clerk, but we got a floor vote for this very same reason. And it passed that we actually send the town reports out to each parcel. Because of the multiple information with the school in the town.
Yep.
It was a floor vote, it passed. And I know we get a very good price for printing.
It's not bad. And in the grand scheme of things, really, what is $67.50 going to save each resident? A couple of dollars per year, not anything significant.
Well, that's that captured though, as a potential discussion item.
Police dispatch, we did negotiate, we got several different estimates for police dispatch. And several years ago, the police chief at the time decided to put $18,000 in the budget for police dispatch from Vietnam. I contacted Hartford and Woodstock, among several other police dispatching agencies, and Woodstock ended up being a low bidder of $44,000. So there are, when you create a budget in November and December, and then you go to June, July, those numbers change. None of these numbers are set in stone. It would be nearly impossible to create a budget and know exactly what everything is going to be 6 months from now. So much changes in 6 months. So that is correct.
So Brandon, let me ask you, if an audience member has if we want to be a little informal as a group, if we have unanimous consent, is it okay if they just ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so dispatch is really important because in all the emergency services, did you, and I don't know the answer to this, so the reason why in the past that Hartford, we stayed there was because of the ability to connect with everybody.
Yes.
Did Woodstock make that same assertion?
Yes.
Okay, good.
The Woodstock is good. Actually, Hartford couldn't service us right now until they put a new console up. And that console was put on a special article, and it was only 50% of the funding that they needed in order to take on more towns. They were 66,000, I think, roughly, to take our police dispatch on. And it wasn't even guaranteed. So Woodstock was able to come through, and that's who the sheriff's department uses. So I think we're actually using their antenna. Is that right, Craig?
So Golden Cross is okay with that too?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And did you have any other, items you want to cover?
I do have a couple of things
We can
here.
always come back to you in a minute too.
Land use benefits. We can't, I 100% agree with John on this. We offer a benefit package in the town. We can't discriminate and say, what, you know, you can only have, and if you're a family, we can't, we can't give you benefits if you have a family. Or we can't give you benefits if you're an employee plus spouse. We say, this is our benefits package. And then if you're an employee only, then, and you're hired, then you get the employee only plan. If you're a family plan, then you get the family plan. There's 4 different plans: employee only, employee plus spouse, employee plus child, and family.
Just to clarity, can't and illegal, right?
Yes.
And it's illegal to do that.
You
That's
can't,
an important distinction to be made.
that's a good point. I was trying to sound less harsh.
So we have a point in the back.
I was wondering if maybe we could look at other packages.
We do every year. So like, we do a full health insurance study in October of every year. Ray, can you explain that a little bit? You're the receiver of it.
So let's keep this kind of.
So towns, Brandon gives us about a 40-page document every year, with all the different plans and options. There's only so many that a town municipality can access. We don't have small business, we're not, there's other insurances, other businesses can access that we can't. So it's pretty small menu, it's usually Blue Cross Blue Shield or MVP. We bounce back and forth, and like every year we have different debit card, because we're bouncing back and forth and chasing the cheaper, the best coverage at the best price. So it's very thorough. It's hard because we're not a small business, we don't have a lot of options that the public sector has for insurance.
Okay, and what else you got, Greg? Unless, we had a, Darlene, did you have a quick comment?
It was not personal, but when
Yeah.
you're going down through. And you see a figure and you compare it. It looks off, and
Yeah.
is it based on full-time or part-time, does that go into consideration?
No, all employees over 30 hours a week are eligible for benefits. So we can't say like Ray can have benefits, but Ryan Dunbar can't have benefits. So if you're a full-time employee, then you're eligible for health insurance in the town.
So land use is 3 days a week, am I correct?
No, he's 40 hours a week, 5 days.
It's posted on the internet, it's on the website, it's 3 days.
Those are public office hours. So employees have to have time for the public, plus they have to have time for their work. So those are office hours, those are not his, he's a 40. I have his contract actually right in my hand, if anybody would like to see it.
So what I'll do is, I think I can help a little bit here. If you look at your packet in FY 27, under expenditures, you can see the land use salary, 78,781. And then there's the 40,000 for that category of employment. However, in 26, it was 74,620. With 37,000 and all the other stuff that's required by law. In 25, land use was a consultant, so in the 25 budget. The total expense in land use was 68,000 with a structure as a consultant versus an employee. And then that's where I think some of the folks are asking
That's a
questions
great
about.
question.
Yeah, so it's like, it's one of the things that management struggles with, which is do we have consultants, do we have contractors, do we have part-time employees, or do we have full-time employees? And so I've seen the select board and the town manager go through that gyration in the last 2 or 3 years, and I think that shows you the history lesson. So on that use, anything else?
Sort of. Going way back to like 2019, 2020, the land use administrator position was full-time. I moved it to part-time. I made the decision as the town manager to reduce the land use administrator down to part-time. And then I realized that was a huge mistake, living with it in 2021, 2022, 2023. and got everything pile up. As a town manager, it's an incompatible office. I can't even be the land use administrator. So things piled up. We had a lot of turnover because it was a part-time position. This is not an office that we want to mess around with. Significant legal issues go through this office that could be far more expensive than just paying a full-time land use administrator a fair salary to do this position. This isn't a position that anybody out the street can just start doing. It requires a special skill set and a lot of knowledge about municipal government, the town plan, our zoning bylaws, legal. So anyways.
Was there?
It's a lot.
I just wanted to remind everybody, and I was hoping to pick up on this, on the healthcare. This is why healthcare is not gonna get solved in this budget, either for the general fund or not, okay? Because the highway budget's already passed, they got 7 full-time people, they would be totally unfair to visit. Not only that, it
Yeah.
also revolves around the January 1st date, so it's not June 30 to July 1st. One other thing. The healthcare lines can be budgeted for the general fund or even solid waste. I think I don't know if that guy's a highway employee or not, doesn't really matter. Healthcare also has internal moving parts. If a
Yes.
person gets married, the boards of the town doesn't have the money to pay, like if they happen to drop on a family plan, tough.
Yep,
Town's gotta pay.
that is correct, and that's why we keep fund balance.
Or the other way around, where like a single person would become, and so it becomes cheaper for the town. That's a winner. But that's why healthcare, I was hoping you were gonna bring that up, it's an
Yeah.
internal thing that you can't control. So you put $1 in your best budget right now. But there could be a moving part in the year.
And I want to build on that a little bit. Let's say we put $20,000 in the budget for, I don't know, we'll just say administrative assistant benefits, right? That administrative assistant leaves the town, goes and gets a different job, moves cross country, and then we hire a new administrative assistant, and that administrative assistant is a family plan. That budget is now $20,000 short. So that's why we keep a rainy day fund or fund balance, because things fluctuate over the years.
I don't think for this, as you're looking at the general fund and you're looking at the cost of overhead. I've seen several iterations where the town has had contractors versus, part-time versus, full-time employees, and I think we just have to, as we start doing discussions a little bit, we just have to think about, what the town is looking for in the general fund. They voted it down twice. And so those are questions that will come up. Brandon, did you get a chance to get through all the things you wanted to address? We'll come back to you too.
Town flags, the $2,750 for town flags. 2,500. So it, on 137,000 for benefits, if we reduced it, by 137,000, that would save the average taxpayer $40 per year. So when you're talking about $2,500 for flags, we're really talking about cents that it would save. Oh yeah, absolutely. They do.
It's. So maybe this is not the year. And sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, for me, like, my taxes go too high, I'm gonna pick up an extra shift. I have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
The elderly people in our company, or in our, county, thank you. Don't have, right, like, they're on a fixed income, they're deciding on the eating or income.
So the question is, do we need new flags this year, or do we not need new flags this year?
And I'm not saying solve it now.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, we do have to solve it now, unfortunately.
Today, tomorrow, then the select board meets, and Friday, we public notice. So, just a question to her point, can we skip flags this year?
This is something we can discuss in the next half hour. That's
Okay.
If there's a budget committee member that wants to, discuss it, make a motion, consider, I do know that all the flags are up. This would be for next year's.
It would be,
flag
yes.
purchase. And
It's not even just about plaques, it's about all different little things that could be, weeded out and things like.
understood.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do right now is shift gears, if everyone can bear with me, we're about 8 o'clock. We do have some recommendations to the select board at the end of the night and the town manager. I wanna go first, to Sophia, then to Wayne, and then to Michael, and just see if there's any comments you'd like to make in public, any answers you feel you'd like to provide or feedback.
So, you your comments, I think it is, we should look at some of the more or less impactful items that can save us a little here, a little there, and make up a little bit. I agree with you that we should not be cutting benefits, and at this point, it's just not doable. Next year, we look at it again, but the recommendation to do something about benefits right now is just gonna cause us, regulatory / legal issue, in the town since budgets are already passed. In terms of police, we already discussed that what we propose for the police is bare bones. And if we also understand that this year we are dealing with what we're dealing with because we needed to switch back to having our own police. So cutting police at this point would be, in my opinion, I don't want that. I want to feel safe.
I'm not saying nothing.
Well, no.
It's just nothing.
We don't touch you.
No one's gonna cut you, chief. That was a threat, yeah. So, did you have anything else or?
That's what
We need my background too,
Yep, that's
and,
fine.
I'll go to Wayne next and then go to Michael, who's on Zoom.
Okay, so I guess where I'm at is, what is it gonna take to pass the budget? I've heard John Broker say, Broker Campbell, I was like, this feels great, it's Broker Campbell, it's hard to read. Broker Campbell, so you just throw the same budget out again. Well, I don't think that's gonna fly, because we've been voted down once, the only way this baby's gonna fly, if you did that again, is if you show up and, only the people who voted yes last time get filled up this time, maybe. As far as we've discussed I think the land use administrators, benefits and stuff. And I would have to agree, we're probably not gonna do anything this year with that, I don't know, if you have one guy's benefits, or one highway, or we get their benefits at fast, okay? But that said, I will say, in Vermont, we are at the highest across the nation in insurance. And, the land use family plan for him is 48% higher at 40,000 than anywhere in the country, is 48% higher. I've been on the stats, so I looked up everything, I Googled it, and I ran that numbers through time and time again, and I made calls to people to see, what are you paying, what are you paying for family plans? People that are working in towns and other places. Now, I will say that municipalities, I'm gonna say it just from, are getting screwed by negotiations. We need somebody, the negotiations that they're, and I heard it by Patty Sutherland, John, not too long ago, that yes, they can be negotiated. Benefits. In fact, he wrote that on one of the things on benefits can be negotiated, it was to you of the discussion. And so, yeah, I think we do need to think about negotiating benefits, not cutting benefits, but getting a better cost. Respectively, someone said, I don't think somebody's benefits, I mean, most of the kids, well, we need to take the cost away. That said, it's like, we're gonna cut postage stamp and just lower the nickel and dime. I mean, what's 5 cents off here? I mean, I guess if it's that bad, I guess I can go down the road and pick up soda cans, pay my taxis for that. But I mean, we gotta cut something here, but going back to the same budget, it's not gonna do anything.
I do.
I think it's gonna be able to your point, the postage. So to the point of the elderly, those are the people that rely on that town report especially. They get that one time a year and they really, and most of them read it. So, and I wanted to also point out, I actually compared my insurance, my husband's insurance to a public person's insurance in Vermont, and it's double. And we both have family plans and like, sure, there is like part of it is we don't have enough people, and when there's, but anyway, we go on to get a creative ways.
Darlene is first and then Brandon.
I just want to say that I work for the town of Weathersfield and I work for the town of Weathersfield. It is not new to go after benefits. It's not, it's been around, that first thing people go after is the benefit. So this is nothing new, it's not personal, it's just the thing that those that pay taxes, elderly, it's what they know.
And Brandon, you're next.
Yeah, I just want to say that the select board has already made a significant reduction. The town manager salary has been cut by a total of 15,000. So that's 15,000 in salary, 1,100 in FICA, $49 in childcare contribution, $13.50 in retirement for a grand total of $17,547. So it's
the budget vote and
correct.
So
there's already been a revision to say that like nothing has been done today. That's just not correct. Like we've already made that change.
So I think it says, the select board determines and negotiates the salary, benefits, and compensation for the town manager, correct?
That's correct.
And you do that for your employees. And the feedback I would say is that between the last budget cycle and this budget cycle, there were several adjustments made in various forms for town employees, including yourself. And one of the things we talked about the last budget meeting was for predictability for the voters is this, and that might be something we vote on and talk about, but synchronizing it where I don't think the budget committee just advises, we're strictly advisory, but the public votes. And when they vote on a budget and it, like for instance, when the last budget closed out, I think there was more money spent on pay compensation and benefits than what the budget was approved. So you can see how the town reacted. This was my feedback. Stephen, you have
A comment or a question, Brandon, there was a lot of talk about you getting travel costs, expenditures online, and I'd like to, I don't know if you wanna take in.
I'd like to comment just for a second, but then also I'd like to move it to Dave. I think it's important enough because of the misinformation that it's addressed.
There's his personal contract. I don't believe it's a public contract if someone from the select board can advise me. Can someone from the select board just give me a indication whether it's private or it's public?
I think negotiations are private. I think after the document's signed, it becomes public because it's public funds.
So what I'd say is, I would just like to respect that and say, if the town manager is not comfortable talking about, I don't want him to feel pressured, coerced, or I'm not trying to.
I'm 100% comfortable with everything being public.
Okay, so I'm gonna give Brandon the floor, and I talk and say after Brandon.
Just before, I'm sorry, mind if I make a comment? Okay, because what's being discussed is an online Facebook group that is being presented by a member of the budget committee as a forum for public discussion. But it is not a forum for public discussion because he is moderating who is allowed to speak and who is allowed to be a member. So the entire conversation that's happening online was not relevant or germane to this conversation tonight.
And that's why we're having in a public open meeting, so thank you, Brandon.
Okay, so the town, I've seen these big posts on this page that you're talking about 5,000 here and 5,000 there and $25,000 here. And a lot of that stuff is misinformation. No, the town manager doesn't have $5,000 this year, another $5,000 next year in raises. That's incorrect. I don't know where it came from. I think it was in the minutes at one point. from prior negotiations, but a new contract was just signed, and that contract reduced the town manager's salary down to $114,000. From that point, if the town manager, whether it's me or somebody else, decides to take a student loan repayment program, which is a tax-free program, then the $114,000 will be reduced by $5,250 from 114 down to 108,750. And then the net, the 114, so it would come out of the town manager's pay.
So I think that.
So it's the way that it's structured, and it's just, it's structured that way because the tax-free benefit offered by the IRS. So if I or a future town manager wanted to use their salary that way, it's our salary to do.
So is that what Michael thought, the chair of select board?
Yes.
So essentially what he stated, I think, at the contract negotiation when you came out of the executive session. So thank you for,
There's a couple more things that I'd like to say as well. There was never $25,000 given to me for a bonus or to buy a house or anything like that. There was a $15,000 sign-on bonus back in 2021. That required if I stayed for 5 years, then I would be able to. Then I earned that 15,000. But let's say if I leave on year 3, then I have to pay the town back that $10,000. And it was structured instead of salary, it was structured as a sign-on bonus. And in the town of Springfield, they're offering police officers $10,000 sign-on bonuses. A sign-on bonus isn't anything new. So
I'm gonna shift, I'll let David talk, but I want to shift gears after this conversation because some of these matters are brought before the select board. The select board will be meeting Thursday. We're an advisory committee, so we can advise. David, you have a final comment?
You gonna allow me to go a little further?
you can go as far as you want, David. My contract is 100% transparent, and so is it my pay. I have no. We do.
And although sometimes we hang up on each other.
Yeah.
We do. Brandon came when I was the chair to us, he was renting a place here in town. Those persons wanted to, it was an estate, those persons wanted to be back in their house. He came to the board and asked, would we be interested in a longer term contract to help out, front some money for him to buy a house? That's where he just came with that $15,000. That we aren't stupid people, the 5 of us, although, to be quite honest. He knows it too, because I walked out of that meeting, it was an executive session, I thought it was being hurried, and it turns out that I'm right. The board, 4-0, voted to go on with that, to sign a contract to allow him the $15,000, of which he just spoke of, to be repaid if he left early, so there was no risk to the town, really. And it helped him, because we didn't pay him any moving fees to come here, there was nothing. The LCT orchestrated that search, he got about the same dollar amount to start with K, that was all done by the League of Cities and Towns. After that was over, he was looking for a certain amount to help him, and it turns out that he was taxed as overtime for that. Dave's right. I wanted to help more, but the board, I should have returned the meeting, but again, they passed that to go on. So that's part of that. After that thought process, I knew what I wanted to maximize his benefit and minimize the town's. It turns out that the town had to pay Social Security on top of that, so did he, at a higher rate. That's where this travel allowance has come forward. Because other businesses, including towns and schools and everything, allow a certain amount of travel. I don't have any idea, and I don't recall, I saw a print where it said that Fuller made the motion for the student loans. I don't recall that, but I do recall that the treasurer said that was not possible for the town to do. That the person could pay his own student loan, but a town could do it. That's my memory.
Yeah.
So here's what I'd like to do, thank you, sir. I'd like to go to Michael online, can you do audio check and see if he can hear me and.
There's no Michael online. Yeah, he's not here.
Oh, okay, as he said it was online earlier, so we're down to 3 members, we still have a quorum, so we're still in business today. Okay,
As you continue, I need to speak, I'm just gonna run out of the room for a moment.
yes, ma'am, I think we can do something here where, we won't make any decisions, so we can. So I have a question for the committee and the feedback, but for the audience too. So here's my feedback to you guys. Okay, we voted in March. The town. Oh, I'm sorry, do you have a quick comment?
I'm so sorry, but this lady over in the corner had her hand.
Are you gonna need someone?
Back and she was.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop. I can't turn it over to you.
I was just gonna ask that it's, or make a statement, that I feel that it's inappropriate when the town manager states that people are being, misinforming the public. When you get on a town meeting minutes of, the select board that's been done, and it literally states on July 28, 2025, they can receive $5,000 a year. Towards his pay for the next 3 years. I'm not saying whether he got it or not, I'm saying that that's what it says, so he bringing it up I shouldn't be told that I'm lying or I'm misinforming. I'm simply asking, is that still in play?
I think that's a point well taken, is we all have to be careful about the word misinformation. We have to be careful, like Abraham Lincoln said, be careful what you read on Twitter. So your point is well taken. I think that if you look at minutes and if you look at what's published, sometimes you're able to source verify stuff, but sometimes you're also able to find contradictory information. And that's.
Meeting minutes from the select board.
So, here's what I'd like to throw out to everybody. Okay, so we voted in March, I can't remember the exact date, it's all blurred. And we passed the solid waste budget got passed. We did pass several special articles, we did the visiting nurses, we did the Washington Field Master Plan. And then there was a couple others. Those all became part of our technical. We failed, capital plan articles. My feedback is that, and we talked about this extensively, is that there's been over what the capital plan is, the number of years, but, there's just kind of a general lack of, education and understanding. And it was a rather large amount, which would be an extraordinary increase in taxes. I think it was a shock. They voted it down. When we worked with the town manager and the select board to do new articles, and we provided advice, that went for a revote, May 19th, I believe. The town voted to approve the highway fund. They voted to approve the 2 special articles. And what was interesting, it was a compromise because it was not a large capital fund investment, but it was not a loan. So folks who believe in capital planning were fairly comfortable and happy with that because we weren't going into further debt. However, it increased our tax the next year. Okay, so it was kind of a compromise. The town voted for those 3 articles, they failed the general fund. The feedback from the voters, which was rather extraordinary, it was about a 10% spread the second time. And a lot of times in the revote, it's the people that really want something to pass that show up. And that didn't happen. So that 3.8% to me, and I'll just throw this out because I don't know a better way to do it. It was an indication that we don't want to change. We were happy with the budget the way it was, we don't want an increase. And the select board and Brandon already took steps to adjust some compensation concerns. I think that was an internal decision, was a part of this budget process. But that decreases that 2.8%. And my feeling is, if we wanted a solution to the situation we're in that would generate a unanimous vote, is we should turn back to the 26 budget, and we just don't do an increase. It's just, and within that budget, we could give advice and feedback to the select board. You know, where you could look at conserving. But like, and there are ways, I think this would be our issue, there are ways where you can reduce the expenditures in various categories. There's all kinds of categories that increase from 2025 to 26. And my belief right now, my feeling, you know, before moving into a vote or anything like that, that's just my feedback, is that the town said no, then they said no again. And so I'll stop right now, and then we'll go to Sophia next.
So you're saying just to go with the 2026 budget, but if given increases in things like health insurance and other items that have gone up in costs that we have no control over, you're gonna have to cut things in order to keep the budget the same as it was in 2026. So it's not keeping the same budget. You're gonna have to cut things.
Well, the budget would stay the same overall, but it would have to be shifted within. Some things would be bigger, some things would be smaller. I think the difference, I don't know if Randy.
You're gonna get cuts.
Cuts to ownership and growth in other areas, but this is my quick question to help everybody else out. Randy, do you know off the top of your head the difference between the 26 and the 27 revised?
47,000.
Okay, and what was the difference in the payroll benefits out of the 47K that you mentioned already?
Roughly 22,000.
So at 22,000, you have a 25,000 gap, right?
Correct.
Things like that, everything else is getting more expensive.
Well,
Just
I
not
really-
long term.
it was hard, I'll work my way around a little bit. I think in the general fund, we don't really have a fuel cost.
We do. We have fire and police.
Okay, you asked a question about fuel costs. Why don't we answer her question about fuel costs, and then we go to Sophia next.
About fuel costs, I'm just saying, where are you gonna find the money? If you're saying just to keep it level funded at 2026 amount, given that many things are increasing, you're gonna have to make cuts to things.
You have to
That's
figure out.
a statement on that.
We have to figure out $25,000.
That's
Right now.
That's just for health insurance. I'm sure it's not the only cost that is. That's yours.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sophia's next, and then I've worked my way this way.
So, I have a question. The 50,000 that we've already spent for the 2 rounds. Where is that coming from?
The 50,000 we already spent on what?
On, March.
Oh, I'm gonna have to figure that out through fund balance and potentially the rainy day fund. We're already, regardless of what we do, we're already looking at over expenditures in FY 27 based on the rising cost of fuel alone for police and fire. I think dropping down to 0% is going to be really difficult. I'd be comfortable with like 1.4. I could make things work at 1.4%.
In 1.4%, what's that? In a 47K, what does that difference represent?
That forces me to cut after the salary reduction of roughly a $20,000 total cost. I think I'd have to cut about 4 or 5 more thousand, and I can do that.
Let's do this. I want to work my way here. I think John broke it down with that, and then you.
Sure. So a level funded budget is putting us behind.
Absolutely.
A level funded budget, because things are getting more expensive. The consumer pricing index for the Northeast region was 2.8% the last fiscal year. So even at 1.4%, we're 1.4% behind where we were.
Yes.
2.8% is the minimum budget need. A 2.8% budget increase is the minimum budget needed to stay level with the cost of inflation. So if we reduce the budget to 1.4 or 0, a 0% increase, we're going to have to make that up. If it's not this year, it's next year or the year after that. These costs don't go away. So unless we're going to plow less roads, we have to come up with the money. Whether it's this year or 5 years from now. In 5 years from now, the tax increase isn't going to be 2.8%, it's going to be 13.8%. We have to come up with the money. This is the cost of the money. This is the cost to run the town of Weathersfield. Period.
Thank you. Julie.
I would respectfully disagree with you about
why the budget failed the second time. I don't think that supporters came, I think people who were critical of the budget came. I'm pretty sure of that. I think supporters figured, but it's always passed the second time, and they didn't. And I would challenge this group to get people out to vote. I think we can pass the budget without level funding it. I think we can pass this small increase we're talking about easily.
Thank you. There's someone else there, their hand up before you in the back, sir. Did I miss anybody? I missed, it was Ray. Then you, sir. So Ray first.
Just to expand on the fuel issue, the town administration has the fire department, the police department, this building for heating oil, the library, the town office, and 2 fire stations. So it's not, they don't buy fuel. My budget alone, under the direction of, like, the advice of the budget committee and the board and everybody else, they wanted me to be as low as possible. So I came in at 1.4 originally. Right now, when the budget was developed, we weren't at war, so the prices weren't high. Right now, the budget I have, I can buy 49% less fuel than last year. Once the contract is done, that Brandon thankfully got, once that 280 a gallon is done, I'm gonna be paying $5.50 to $5.70 a gallon for fuel at our tank. So cutting the budget, you think looks really good, but down the road, where am I gonna come up with another 60 grand to buy the same amount of fuel I bought last year?
So I guess. Well, we have done 30.
Yeah, just reflect off of earlier comment on the vote and the revote. I believe the Valley News cited 19% turnout for the revote. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the original vote? For amount of voter participation?
About the same.
So 20%.
Yeah, we.
So one out of 5 people in town voted.
And but overall, the way it is with votes, it's a yay or nay, and that's what it is. And the town they voted no. On the revote, on the 2.8%, they approved everything else. And to me, I'm just. I expected it to go through. It did not go through. So the town's vote was no, and that tells me that the taxpayers that attended that voting, it mattered enough to them to vote no. You're back, Darlene.
I have to say that once a budget fails, sometimes the mentality is, oh, mama, I'm gonna go know with them. And if they need to be, people need to be educated. And you need to get more people out to vote. And I remember once when I was part of a budget committee, and it was put before the voters. Do the voters want to spend, I'm gonna make that figures, $25,000 to fund whatever? And people voted no. What they didn't know when you voted no is that the whole amount came out instead of the 25,000, which was partial. And so you have to let people know what the consequences are and educate people. I'm not saying that people need educating in the towns. I'm just saying, when it comes to the budget, it hurts. It hurts when you open your tax bill. So the consequence to that is hurting. When a fire truck can't be done, or a plow truck breaks down, it's consequences, and people need to know that it's not because of an increase in salaries. Well, of course you're going to increase salaries. It's another year's gone.
So,
But
yeah, thank you, Darlene. I think in terms of the general funds, I'm just gonna throw this out there that I look at it like essential services are the highest on my decision of making, like law enforcement, not proposing cuts. Fire not proposing cuts. What I think there's an opportunity for is some decreased spending in areas of the budget that don't affect benefits. And like, for instance, if you look at 27 to 25, the mileage stipend. And I think was that part of that chop?
Yeah, and what was that again, August?
Well, there's like tuition and dues,
Yeah,
mileage stipend, work and recognition, those all went up from 25 to 27.
so tuition and dues has been decreased from 8750 to 4000. And then the mileage stipend in the accounting budget, I don't really want to adjust the finance budget right now, because if I do that, it's going to be really adjusted. And I think we adjust it next year.
Well,
But
now here's another thing, the total elevation wide was 2.8.
yeah,
With whatever, I was in the meeting and Chairman Todd recommended a 3.5 and then it was unanimous and it was 3.5. At the next budget meeting, and this isn't a negative, but I didn't say a word as a public member in that select board meeting, but I thought, wow, that's 0.7 over the national COLA. Like my many of people who are retired or disabled or social security got 2.8.
yeah.
So that to me is one area, and I was trying to figure out what 3.5 versus 2.8 would be. 2.8 would be consistent with social security benefits COLA. It looks like it's a savings of 10 to 15,000.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be about $3,000. Let me just pull it up here.
Yeah.
In town, the highway cannot touch your money. So that you can only touch the money of the people who are employed at the town office.
Good point. It's
I just want you to know,
Yeah.
you can't touch anyone else's 3.5 at this point.
Well, also, I'd like to say a 3.5% increase throughout the entire town. That means the general fund, the highway fund, and the solid waste fund is roughly $40,000. That's all inclusive of FICA, workers' compensation, unemployment, and retirement. But if you move from 40,000 to 2.8, it's really like 2,000 or 3,000 that we're saving.
But that does. The town did compensation reviews and pay increases throughout the year, multiples. And I understand that there was a methodology, and I understand the intent was to get them on par.
Yeah.
But the feedback from voters was no, and they were concerned. And you have to keep in mind we have an older population in Weathersfield, and most of them who are receiving social security benefits at 2.8%.
They should be paying their taxes based on what you guys come up with as far as budget goes. Anyone who's truly on a fixed income should be doing the income sensitivity. Yeah.
Understood.
I wish I had the opportunity to weigh in on the wage adjustments that were completed throughout the prior year. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there about that as well. And I think at some point I should have the opportunity to really go through that.
But just the 22,000 though, like as an amount, you with accounting, you have somebody who's not an accountant working in accounting right now, right? I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just saying it's a
we have an accountant in training right now.
So that could be something though, that's an area where you could contract it or share with another town, do it to a multi-town.
Yeah, that would not be a good idea. We have an accountant in training, and luckily right now I'm filling in a huge gap in finance for the town.
Do you have any additional employees that you did not have performing full-time versus part-time or additional part-times that were not part-time, like in the past 2 years? Has the staff grown?
So we had a full-time principal clerk. Hold on, let me I'd like to address this because that's yeah. So we had a full-time principal clerk with benefits. And when Olivia Savage, and everybody remembers her, she worked alongside. I know, but I want to give people context. She worked in the front office. She stepped down. She worked for the town for almost 5 years. and we saved, I think it was like 60 something, 70 something $1,000. That's for that fund, so instead of filling that position, I reallocated that principal clerk salary, some of it to land use, and then I created a couple of part-time positions. So there was no net increase in the budget because of those positions. I just simply, and that happens when you're operating a town, you can kind of see, hey, you know, as the manager of the town, we don't need this anymore, but we need a little bit more time over here, we need a little bit more time over here. These are the gaps in services. If I wasn't doing this on a regular basis, I wouldn't be doing my job.
So before I go to the, I just have a question. If you have to reduce 22,000 in spending, is there a way you could do that that would not adversely impact services to the town?
An additional 22,000?
Yeah, because you.
No, they wouldn't.
27. When we were trying, like, if we were trying to go over the 26 budget, is there 22,000 additional reductions of spending that could not adversely impact the town that you could find?
So after the first budget failure, I really cut everything else that I could possibly cut and still make an impact. So like between now and the next budget, we've reduced the town manager's salary to try to make some impact. Anything beyond that is going to start reducing staffing levels. Or we cut flags, or we cut the town report. I mean, there's really, we could cut police officers or firefighters. It's what the town wants to do at this point, but it is going to be a reduction in services at this point.
So is your recommendation a 1.4% as town manager increase?
Yeah, I think that's the bare minimum to be able to maintain existing service levels.
The two, one, there were a lot of assumptions being made about why the budget was voted down. It was a yes or no vote. There was no survey outside the door. It was yes or no. You talk to your friends, you talk to your neighbors, but we can't make broad-based assumptions about why it was voted down. That's unfair to every person who didn't get spoken to. And two, once the budget is approved, it is statutorily the town manager's job to manage the budget without the input of the select board or the voters. Once the budget is approved by state law, that's solely the responsibility of the town manager. It's just, so whatever adjustments were made in the previous fiscal years were well within the rights of the town manager to do.
Yes, understood. Yeah, it's a history lesson.
But it's a history lesson, but it's being couched in a way that is trying to present it in a bad light. Brandon was doing the job that is presented to him as allowed by state law. Period.
That's required by state.
That's required by state law.
Thank you. Okay.
Follow up on that, I think it is really risky to try to assume or figure out what the voters had in mind, because remember, the first time the voters voted in favor of the $20,000 for Washington Field, if people were that worried about their personal budgets, that would have been the first thing to be voted down. Because that's not a service, it's not a necessary service, it's certainly something that would be nice to have that you can all live without.
I guess you guys have good points, and the bottom line is they went to the polls, and they said, this is a number we're not gonna say yes on, we're gonna say no. For whatever reason.
I also have my theories on why. There is a huge online push to say no matter what. That's what I keep seeing. So what I want to say is saying no matter what gets nowhere but hurts our town and hurts us as a whole. Because we want to be as a whole, we look at how many people are here, we all care. However, it would be nice if we had even more people here that care. And not just, and even more people, to the gentleman in the back's point, than 19% that actually went out and voted. So I'm just saying, we don't, I agree with those that are saying, we don't know why no. I think there was no because there were other reasons which I'm not going into, other than the other fact is that there is quite an undertow
And not just in Weathersfield, I'm seeing it in other places. That folks are just said, are saying, say no, no matter what. I'm just gonna put that out there, so and those that are saying, say no, no matter what, can you speak up and say, at what point are you gonna vote yes?
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
Did I miss you? Dora. Dora, go ahead, and we'll start to Jim.
Yeah, it's just a quick one. And I've lost my train of thought, so you go.
I was just gonna simply say that the budget didn't pass, and there's an obvious reason why the budget didn't pass. People said that's too much money. And, you know, we are arguing about, you don't want to save money, or you don't want to cut anything from your budget. Somewhere there's gonna be a cut. It's about the money.
Thank you, sir. You got it. Time for people.
So what I would like to see, if you because we can't answer all these questions, what I would like to see is a firm statement from the select board backing up the town employees and saying that this is the best we can do. We have worked really hard, we support it wholeheartedly. That, I think, was the part that was missing in the process coming up to this gate.
Thank you, Matt.
Susan Weiler from Weathersfield. There is a huge gap in financial literacy in our country. And when people get a document like this with numbers on it, they go blind. And if there's not a document that tells a story, they're not going to read this carefully. I keep having to go back to this time with a lot of numbers. And I feel like we're not communicating with people that are just saying no, because I don't understand it. What was this that came in the mail? This is what my neighbors are saying. You know, this doesn't mean anything to me. That's why they're not here.
And Ron, and then we've got some decisions. Okay, the last you.
His budget has already been cut for the next time run, right? And
No,
I think-
that's what we're doing today,
Wow.
developing recommendations.
No, the select board already cut. But already.
Well, the May 19th.
Yes.
This budget was presented May 19th and voted down. Brandon's preparing a new budget to present to that Thursday night.
But that's already been. Declined.
Yeah, we've already cut. So I think what you're trying to say is since the budget failed for the second time, did we make any cuts? And the answer is yes.
They passed this one, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't cut benefit, you can't look at this.
Thank you, Ron. We have one last comment, and then that's to close public comment.
The one thing is the vote no type of thing, seems like everything's getting bigger and bigger, government's getting bigger. And I know, for example, my wife, last 3 years, she hasn't had a cost of living raise in her employment. And in her, maybe as a town, we need to go to our state house and the Congress and Senate and say, maybe you guys need to end up paying for your health insurance like the rest of us in the world.
Yeah.
Because we're all struggling and they get $170,000 a year and 100% paid health insurance for life. And we need to do something to be able to step up and get the people that are supposed to be for us to support us.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm gonna wrap up. We've gone a little long, but I think it's important that everyone feel like they have a chance to provide their comments. So thank you. With the budget committee, we have three of us here. I think I appreciate Brandon. Thank you for all the questions.
You're welcome.
And thank you for setting this up.
Question.
Yeah, okay.
Does that mean you guys can deliberate?
We have to make our decisions now.
No more input, no more questions on anything.
Yeah, I closed it out. We have to, as budget committee, you're all welcome to sit here, but we have to discuss.
What's our last observed?
Oh, this is still, we're still open. We are open. We're open meeting, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you. So
Yeah, you're right. So you're already, how are you? I think you have a lot there.
Hey, but you can keep the noise down, I'm wondering if we'll be able to hear these comments, we're still being recorded.
I wasn't planning to go with the cut, that's the 1.4% that Brandon is saying he can live with. I think even with that 1.4%, I understand you're voting right now, but with the inflation that is happening, especially with fuel, he's gonna have to be cutting anyway, so 1.4% is a fair way to do it. I think going down to 0 is gonna hurt us more than anything.
Anyway,
Well, to start with, we've been back and forth on these budgets here, and some of the confusion that I know was online and stuff was about the budgets, and the other confusion was right with me with these budgets. Because the first one, and that's the one we're talking about tonight, the municipal tax rate to be raised is $2,806,000. $62. The original was $3,009,732,000. Then we had one that was brought before us was the municipal tax that total to be raised was $2,784,732. These are the ones that I've got sent to my emails. And then the one that came out, I got a week ago, which I really like, because the municipal taxes to be raised is $2,764,732. It's actually lower than what we got down. So I'm like, this is where I mean, I heard Brandon say that they do this, and that's why I left that online group quite a while ago, because I didn't want to be drawn down a rabbit hole. In fact, even like the budget committee, I thought I said I didn't. But anyways, that said, this is where this confusion comes from, because the math ain't mathing, I mean.
Right.
Show me the real figures and,
So what you are finding is that either we have, calculation issues.
That's right.
And actually, the town manager is not here for this conversation, but I think we need to have Brandon go through and give us corrected numbers for these 4 documents, so we can understand. Again, outside of what we are saying, 1.4 or whatever, again, the percentages seem to at least be normal, but these items, it would be good if we got the real numbers.
Well, I know that the conversations were on, the gentleman brought up, was taken right from the town report. So, and for me to make a decision, I'm at the point where I look at this, and I see all these different numbers floating around, and it's like, which ones do I trust, which ones I don't? I'm at the point, roll it back to 2026, and we'll go over there. It'll pass, and sorry, we'll have to get the ball. Because I don't like numbers with global, I don't like global numbers.
Well, if we go to 0, we do understand that he's gonna be needing to either borrow money or find money somehow or other. What?
Or find something, you're right.
And that includes police responding, fire responding, because all that is in this budget.
so here's my feeling, here's what we know. We confirmed with the town manager what the FY 26 approved amount was, we've confirmed what the revised amount was. 1972,781 versus 20,285,93. We've also, that's a difference, I believe, of about 47,000. They've already talked about town manager reductions in this package of about 25, which means there's $22,000 difference. My feeling is I do not want to impact police, and I do not want to impact fire. I think essential services areas should not be touched. I do think that the town has grown extensively since 25 in staffing, and I think some of the staffing could be part-time or could be contract, and I think it could also be done through attrition because there is turnover in the town office. We're in discussion.
Just asking for clarification to say if you could just.
Clarification.
Of where do you see the?
I don't have a decision yet. I'm just discussing.
So I'm just asking where you see that the town employees have, we've increased so many employees.
It's the budget amounts for those categories. if I go through the 25 to 27 budget. We've grown from 17,74924 to in 26, it was a $200,000 increase. A lot of that was paying benefits and staffing. But if we're gonna, if and I'm basing my vote on the fact that the public voted no twice. And I do feel that they voted no twice because the impact was, they weren't comfortable with that level of a tax increase. They were comfortable of it in the articles they approved, but not in the general fund. So whether it's the cost of staffing and personnel, that's been the biggest growth driver in 6 years.
The biggest problem that I see is, okay, we can keep going back and forth and maybe spending pennies, saving pennies, and, you know, that's the biggest thing I worry is it gonna cost us more in the long run to keep going back and forth? I mean, I hate to think you can save $10,000 and it costs us money to save it. But at the same time, I'd like to see some numbers that. I mean, I'm a numbers guy, I'd like to see numbers that act flow and not eating enough.
But regardless of that,
Well,
again, we've all seen the increase in the cost of benefits and staffing. Because benefits are through the roof. Everywhere across the board for every single segment of the entire population of the US. I don't think anybody is getting a deal of anything. Everybody is getting more and more and more and more costs, so I'm confused about saying that the staffing and, that the benefits and staffing are up means that we have more staff. I don't think that necessarily means that we have numbers in staff. So
What draws my attention the most has been the increase in town manager and the increase in land use. The land use budget is where I think 22,000. I mean, there's other places too. If the select board and town manager didn't want to hit land use for reduced spending, but land use, let me pull it up here. The town plans, just about done. Let's go through the planning commission. Land use. We went from 68,000 in 25. In 26, so it went to 130. This is the one that we received per se. 68,000. It went to 138, and then it jumped to 150 in the last, and then in for revised one that got voted down. The revised one was 144, and that got voted down. So we went from 68,000 in 25 to 134. And then our proposed 144. That's 10,000 right there of an increase from 26. So I guess my feeling is, personally, is we stick with that with the FY 26, and you look at land use, and then possibly non-essential areas, non-fire, non-police, to find the other 12,000 awards, travel, stipends. Tuition reimbursement.
Well, maybe we just tell everybody in town they should go back to their household budgets that they had for the last 3-4 years and, just work it out. Everybody just stick with their own budget.
We have public comment, those we're discussing this, I appreciate what we're discussing, so guys, Thursday, the select board, I respect that. We're strictly advisory, guys. Where I'm at is to recommend the select board we stick with the FY 26 rate, which is 47,000 less. So do you want to make a motion?
my motion is different than your motion. My motion is to go with 1.4%.
You can make that motion.
I would like to, I would like to make a motion to, increase the budget by 1.4% for 2027.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any comprehensive discussion? So he made the motion, you go first.
Well. I don't have anything to add except that we've discussed. And there have been quite a few cuts made already for line item. Outside of that, to Wayne's point, I think we should get this clarification, but that should not affect our voting. So I'm sticking with my 1.4%. I still think it's gonna be painful.
Okay, when do you have any comments, discussions?
No, I just, I'm not in agreement with this.
Well, I'm not either, so, is there any other discussion? Okay, we're gonna take a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed say no.
There you go.
Okay, the noes have it, that motion does not carry. Wayne, did you wanna make a motion?
I would make a motion that we. Well, what, we're gonna understand it. I would make a motion that we stick to the 2026, because in the numbers, and that we, try to find a cut for that, 22,000.
Okay, so to restate the motion, you reckon, you're moving that we recommend and advise the select board
This 2026.
to,
Yeah.
use a general fund in the same amount of FY 26. 1972781. Okay, I second that motion. Discussion.
I just think this is the best option at this point for the year, otherwise we're taking everything before that, right off the town manager's just gonna miss that or whatever, they think this is something he can work on now, he can say, okay. I can cut my salary, or I can find other costs in it to bring it up to 22. We're scaling back, level funding.
Okay, any other discussions? Okay.
No, I said that again, let's take a vote.
Okay, all those, we're gonna close discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the ayes have it, that is gonna be our recommendation to select board. Under other business, one of our attendees, Ms. Wears, she asked us to come to a consensus, we took a vote, that's our vote, it's a matter of record. For the select board, would you like me as chair, to speak to the select board, or would you like to take a vote on some of this?
I make a motion to.
Okay, so we have unanimous consent, but I also want to, make sure that the member of the committee, for that public, although we have a vote as a contract. Okay, so we have, I'll speak, on behalf of, yes, sir, Wayne, Sophia, any other business?
I have other business.
Okay, Brandon, what's your other business?
So a quorum of the budget committee is 3 members. The budget committee is 5 members. Anything this budget committee passes tonight requires unanimous consent of all 3 members. So whatever just happened, those votes on it.
It's an invalid vote, we do not have, so.
Census, that's what everybody's concerned about.
Yep.
I wanted some kind of formal determination of what this committee felt about the budget and what you're going to present.
So we're 1 to 2, you can't provide a valid, a valid vote, so our apologies.
No apologies necessary. The process is what it is, and I just wanted on the record how you got to where you were going. And where you plan to present.
And thank you for coming here, because we're able to hear all of the public feedback and all of the concerns that are brought in. So having said that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's 8:57, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned, thank you, everybody.
Not that.
Well, no, I did the speaking of it, and thank you for speaking.
And I will. Wait, just so we have the audience, I think you can use it correctly. We get, putting the building also.
Does he still?
Oh, no, it's.
All you can base that by only most recent budget.
I don't.
And it's this negative of these stuff. One of those features help for young and strapping. Over.
I just have a little person, I've noticed that a little bit, but I didn't want to.
Yes, this is like, oh. Thank you.
One, two,
I